Hi there, VC. It's Steve Whitty here. It's Sunday morning. I hope everybody's well. That we've all had a good week. Yes, it's time for me to do another recent listens video. I can see the sun peering through, though the weather has turned cold. It feels more autumnal at the moment. If you're in the UK, we all know that measures have been tightened up a little bit. We can't drink after 10 o'clock in pubs, and 2 meters. I've got my app downloaded, so hey ho, it is what it is. We've just got to be sensible and get on with life. So again, I'm going to show another 10 albums that I've been listening to this during September. 10 more albums, mixed bag. I'd like to think. Some I've purchased, some I've just decided to have a listen again to. So, without further ado, let's start. This is Harry Nilsson's Pussycat album, produced by John Lennon. It's a bit of a hard listen, this is, because this is very much quite a few covers on this. It's very a star-studded album. You've got up on here, Keith Moon plays drums, Ringo's on drums, on Bobby Keys, he plays sax, Cass Foreman's on bass. It's amongst others, but the vocals. It seems like it was recorded a bit of I think during Lennon's Lost Weekend, and I think it sounds very much like. I know the vocals did permanent, the screaming and certain, but it sort of like Nilsson was going higher than his normal range, and I think did a lot of permanent damage to his vocal cords. I mean, it's a good album, but it's not one of his best. There you got pictures of all those that are involved on the making the album, and it record plays. The cover looks a bit beat, but that's fine. I can live with that. A couple of videos ago, I mentioned I was given a record by Pete at the local shop, where he tried to flatten out a warp. He's got one of these warp flattening machines, record flattening machines. Didn't quite do it. This was the Nottingham Castle Rock, and he gave me another one where he tried the same thing. Now this is a compilation from 68 called Me and the Devil, and it's on it's a compilation of British blues, and it's released on the Liberty label. It played all right for me. Pete did say it might play on yours, but he couldn't play on mine. I think there was a little jump right at the start, but it played faultlessly afterwards. So Me and the Devil, as I say, is a compilation of British blues, featuring Joanne Kelly, Andy Fernbach, Dave Kelly, Simon Prager, Steve Rye, and probably the most well-known figure on here, Tony McPhee. Very much acoustic blues. Really good album. I suppose the bonus for me with this album is it's actually Alison, who originally owned said copy, had it signed by Steve Prager. Steve Rye, and then you've got Simon Prager's signature there, and probably more impressively, right at the bottom, if you can see it, Tony McPhee's. So yeah, well pleased with that. It really is a good album, actually. Very good album. It's part of what's known as the Groundhog series, so whether that's sort of inspired Tony McPhee, or whether Tony McPhee it sort of coordinated it, and he was a member of that Groundhog at that time, I'm not sure, but yeah, really good album. Really pleased to have this in my collection. Let's have a quick swig of tea. Right, female vocalist I do like. One of Britain's better known well, not better known voices, but I think really got a good voice, is Maggie Bell. I managed to pick up a couple of her albums, solo albums. This is Queen of the Night. This came out in 1974. This is an American release on Atlantic. This is the American version. Maggie Bell, for those who don't know, was the lead singer in Stone the Crows. They imploded. Well, she was engaged to the guitarist Les Harvey. Unfortunately, it was electrocuted and died on stage at Swansea Top Rank, I believe, in 1972. They did carry on for a little bit while with Jimmy McCulloch, but it sort of fell apart, really. This is so on the album. It's got Steve Gadd on drums, amongst others. But this is very much trying to break her. To me, at times, there sounds the elements of Janis Joplin in here. They're trying to sort of make a British version of Janis Joplin, which is not a bad thing. Does a version of J.J. Cale's After Midnight on here. Really is actually not a bad album. I do like her voice. So I got that album. It only cost me a couple of quid. Then I also managed to pick up Suicide Cell, which was released in 1975, and this is on the Polydor label. And this sort of like features the sort of cream of British, some of the cream of British session playing. Pete Wingfield's on keyboards. You even got some Jimmy Page playing guitar solos on the tracks If I Know, and her version of Lennon McCartney's I Saw Her Standing There. She does a version of Wishing Well on here. There's another Hold On as well. This is really, really good. From this, I think linked with Jimmy Page on here, she ended up really signing to Swan Song label. Never really broke through as an artist. She did the theme music to the song to the TV series Hazel, which is currently being repeated on there's a channel in the UK called Talking Pictures, which specialises in old films, but old 70s TV series, which you don't see anywhere else. And she sings the vocals on that. She sings the main tune on that. She did have a hit single in 1981 with B.A. Robertson, their version of PJ Proby's Hold Me. I don't know what she's doing now, if she's still singing. I probably need to look into that. But great voice. It's worth checking out if you do see it, at least have a listen. Another album I found quite cheap. Blues Band Live. This is Bye Bye Blues. This came out in 1982 or 83. Blues Band were set up by Paul Jones and Tom McGuinness, the Manfred Mann connection. You've got there Gary Fletcher, Dave Kelly and Rob Townsend as well, making up the band. They were really successful. They weren't successful, but they were a really popular live band. Sort of like they just concentrated on blues. They had albums that hit the lower reaches of the charts. Very popular live band. And this is sort of like the breakup album. They decided at 82, 83 to call it a day. And this is very much like a sort of like a goodbye album. I don't know if it was the last concert that they played. It's recorded at the venue in London. It was recorded at the band's last gig, the venue, in December 1982. So your tracks on here: Come On In, Hey Hey Little Girl, Death Letter, Grits Ain't Groceries, Flatfoot Sam, Don't You Lie to Me, Can't Hold On, It Might As Well Be Me, Nadine, Big Boss Man, version of Maggie's Farm, and True to Right. Really is a stonking live album. They did get back together again not long after Intermittent Carnations, but it was never quite as popular as it was at that time. But it's a really good live album. I mean, if I see any more blues band stuff, I have got their official bootleg album, I'll pick it up. It's really entertaining. Another album I picked up quite cheap. This is Focus Hamburger Concerto. Now this came out in 1974. This followed up on the back of the success of they had hit singles in the UK with Hocus Pocus and Sylvia. And this was sort of like the next album. Not this copy's not in the greatest of nick, to be honest with you. Sometimes this is where going for a record for a couple of quid sort of backfired on me a little bit. Not that it jumps us, it just doesn't sound too great even after cleaning. So it's not a bad album. I don't think it's a patch on Making Waves, but then again, I'm not that big a Focus aficionado. I've got this is about my 4th album I've got from them. So yeah, really, it's all right. It's probably not up there with one of the greats, but I enjoyed it. Some nice tracks. Side A is probably, to me, it's better than side 2 actually, which is the whole concerto. But it's enjoyable all the same. And I also took opportunity to go back to listen to some albums, rather than keep playing new stuff. Albums I got in the collection. I thought, well, you know what, let's have a listen. And one album I've gone back to is Kiss the Elder, an album that is pretty much derided by fans, the band itself, and critics. But I love it. I'll make no apologies to say I love this album. I did buy a copy when it first came out in '81. I don't know what happened to it. I prefer the album version than the CD version. For some reason, the track listings were totally all out. I think the track listings on the album are all over the place. It doesn't follow the song, it follows the story. Apparently, the CD does. But I just love this album. It was first featured Eric Carr on drums, but it was also the last to feature Ace Frehley on guitar. And I think his guitar playing was really good on this album. You've got, looking at the album, Fanfare, Just a Boy, Odyssey, Only Under the Rose. It's just, Under the Rose, with the choir, it's just a powerful track. I always loved that track. World Without Heroes, Mr. Blackwell. It's a wonderful album. It's just, I keep coming back to this album. He also saw me through some dark times. 81, I brought it. My father passed away in 82, so I only found myself playing this a lot at that point. So it is quite a special, got a special album for me. So yeah, I was happy, just to go back and listen to it again. I don't really care what anyone else says if they reckon it's rubbish. You're entitled to your opinion. I love it. I do have a liking for comps, especially the late 60s comps, early 70s comps that were issued as cheap, sort of like introductions for people on items. And one such one is a comp called Deep Overground Pop. This came out, I believe, in 1969, and this is issued by Polydor. So what it does, it's sort of like highlighting the acts that were on Polydor at that time. So you've got on here Julie Driscoll, Brian Organ and the Trinity, The Who, Jimi Hendrix Experience, Secondhand, Cream, Crazy World of Arthur Brown, Rare Amber, and Taste. Something for everybody. This really is an absolute wonderful album. The Jimi Hendrix thing might be a bit more because it's only the one track, I believe, that they get put on. Oh no, there's three tracks. So you've got quite a lot there. Secondhand, I don't know much about them. They take up 2 tracks on side 2. Taste have a couple of tracks. Rare Amber have a couple of tracks. It's The Who that only have the 1 track, which is Pinball Wizard. Crazy World of Arthur Brown, they've got 3 tracks on here. Cream got 2. Julie Driscoll, Brian Organ and Trinity have 2 tracks, which including their version of Donovan's Season of the Witch. Excellent. And that only cost me a couple of quid. These comps you can find in the cheap bins, and they're worth seeking out. Really worth seeking out. picked up a cheap Elvis album from Elvis in Memphis. I think it got reissued last year. This is mono copy. Plays okay. I suppose the best known track on here is the last track on here is In the Ghetto, which was a big hit single for him. Elvis is a difficult one because you see his stuff quite a lot in the cheap bins, and you think, you know, we're coming up to, you know, 65 years almost since Heartbreak Hotel, and you'd think, for some reason, his stuff doesn't seem to have the cash with record buyers now. Then probably say if this vinyl revival would have been going 20 years ago, or maybe even 2000s, because he did have that number, that remix number one, a little bit of little more understanding, I think. But for some reason, you can pick his records up quite really cheap if you're really into that. Some, like anything else, there's some good ones. Some of the soundtrack albums are a bit ropey. And finally, I got round to listening to this Deep Purple's the Concerto for Group and Orchestra. Sort of introduced the Mark II lineup to the world. Released 1970. John Lord. This is very much John Lord's labour of love. He very into. It was classical track music. I think the rest of the band had to be dragged kicking and screaming into it. The orchestra wasn't exactly enamoured, and I think there is a story that Malcolm Arnold had to give them a good telling off to tell them to put their ideas up, because he believed it in this as well. Fair to say that the reaction was mixed. So you got the band there. But the publicity did the band no end of good from it, and it sort of highlighting that the direction they were going, the heavier direction they were going into at the time. And John Lord, when he retired from Deep Purple eventually, he went on and did classical composing. That was really, you know, when he got towards the end of his life. So listening back to it now, I mean, it's a product of its time. There were a lot of bands that were doing stuff with orchestras. That was the big thing. But it's one of the better efforts on that sort of thing, you know, with orchestra. So if you haven't listened to it, it's worth having a check. It's actually at times it's quite powerful. So there you go, VC. So those are the last 10. Those are 10 albums I've been listening to September. I've been listening to quite a fair bit, so I'm a little bit behind. I haven't really discovered the joy of actually making the videos again, because it's to be honest, it's, I think in these times where I think we find ourselves having to stay in a little bit more. Winter's coming, nights are drawing in. We're going to be in a lot more whether we like it or not. It's good for the old mental health. It's always good to get the reactions from some people, comments, and I apologise to those I haven't replied to last week. I've put my thumbs up, but anyhow, did get a random comment by somebody on the Beatles ranking video about a few. I did a few years ago, and then you click on the person's name and you find that they've not got subscribers, and I think it's just some troll, and you just think, oh, get a life. So I don't know what I'm going to do today. Sun's out. Yeah, I might just do a little bit of shopping and just take it easy. And I hope whatever you get up to on Sunday, whether it be cart booting, or even if you go around hunting, searching for records, or whatever. And I hope those that partaked in Record Store Day yesterday got what they wanted. My views on that are well known, but I was too busy anyhow to go to any of the shops. Too cold to queue. Old man talking. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, click on the subscribe button. More the merrier. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Love that interaction. I love the comments as well. I do appreciate people take time out to, watch my video, and comment on it. So whatever you get up to DVC today and for this week, make sure it's a good one. Look after yourselves. Keep spinning. More importantly, keep smiling.